Hello everybody and a very warm welcome back to another episode of Hidden Jewels of Soul and Disco. And this week we are featuring Dexter Wansel.
I'm Dexter Wansel. I'm a music producer and I'm from Philadelphia.
Why Dexter dominated the later part of the 70s at the Philadelphia International label, and why his cover from his debut album became a landmark cover for many to follow, well, we'll discuss this after some needle drops. Dexter Gilman Wansel was born in 1950, and he had his first musical steps as an errand boy at the Uptown Theatre in Philadelphia, to be exact, in 1963. During that time he met many musicians, and all of them encouraged him to start a musical career. And by 1970 he fulfilled himself that dream. He worked at the Sigma Sound Studio, which is a legendary studio. In that studio he learned and he mastered that task brilliantly to program synthesizers, thus following the roots of Wendy Carlos, who is an absolutely master and pioneer in that field. He worked with two synthesizers especially, and these were the EMS VCS3 and the ARP2600. Also during that time he was playing keyboard for the groups like Instant Funk and Yellow Sunshine. In 1975 he had the chance of a lifetime. The Philadelphia International label gave him and offered him a contract. During that time, the Philadelphia International label was one of the most successful labels in the 70s. What Motown was musical-wise for the 60s, Philadelphia International had the same status for the 70s. And also by 1975, they had also tremendously successful acts, like the 3 Degrees, for example. These ladies sold on the Philadelphia International label millions and millions and millions of records. When Will I See You Again is up till today one of the most played songs in music history. They had Lou Rawls, they had Billy Paul, they had Harold Melvin and the Blue Notes, and where later on Teddy Pendergrass paved the way of many vocal house classics. So these were the top label at that time. And by 1976 he released his first album, and this album was called Live on Mars, and here it is. You've heard some snippets from that album at the beginning. It's considered as a space funk album. For me it's more like a space soul album, but it's actually the first time where synthesizers were the key element on a Philadelphia International album. Why? Well, he was working and mastering the synthesizers, and at that time synthesizers were the thing. So he brought new life, new ideas, new perspectives to Philadelphia International. And for the later part of the 70s, he was involved with all major releases from that label. We get to that a little later on. Let's talk about the cover. This cover became kind of iconic because of this. And this is actually a tunnel which really existed in 127 John Street in New York. This tunnel was built in 1971 and got demolished in 1997. unfortunately. If you are like me, a sci-fi fan from the 70s, also this tunnel, which became iconic by itself, must be familiar. Let's watch a snippet of one of my favorite sci-fi movies from the 70s.
The cheekbones could be narrowed and the mouth curve changed.
Please let me know as soon as you've made your selection. I'll let you know as soon as she's decided.
An attractive alternative.
Hello, Sandman. We don't get many Sandmen. I think we've only had one other since I've been here.
Well, a Sandman can get as sick of his face as anyone else.
Doc, there's a Sandman here. Can you see him? Doc is ready, Sandman.
Farrah Fawcett was drop dead beautiful. I wish I would have her hair. And believe me, if they still would sell her hairline products, I would buy each and every one of it. Tremendously great person, great actress. But unfortunately she passed away, and but that's another story. Anyway, this tunnel. And also this tunnel became this album art became a blueprint for other albums to be plastered on, and these were, for example, Crowd or Tangerine Dream with Exit. There were many people to use this tunnel. There followed some other albums. Another one which I want to point out is Slipping Away. Time is Slipping Away from 1979. I mean, look at that cover. Also an absolutely brilliant album, and Shirley Jones from the Jones Girls themselves sang backing vocals on this. Tremendously good. By 1986 he released Captured. He is now he's still alive, thank God, and he's still doing music. He has a new record deal, and he's releasing new music. But what did he do as in the late part of the 70s, just releasing albums? He had a contract to do many other things, and that's what he did. He was working with the likes of Gene Carn. He worked very closely with Cynthia Biggs. She wrote most of the lyrics. He was more part for the melodic part, but he was responsible for many Gene Carn releases. He worked also very closely with Bonnie Siegler, also a Philadelphia international legend. He worked on my favorite, say what you want, but it's my favorite Patti LaBelle album, and this is I'm in Love Again. I love this album. You get it tremendously cheap. It's fantastic. Dexter Wansel is involved. It's a great record, great early 80s record. He was involved in the works of Tandy Pendergrass. What a legend. What a legend. We talked about the Jones Girls. In 1981, he wrote Nights Over Egypt. At that time, the song was a total flop, and everybody was hoping it would be a hit because it is a great song. Decades later, Nights Over Egypt became a club classic. So this is a later album from them. This is the debut album where he was also involved with. And actually, the Jones Girls were to be considered as a replacement group for the 3 Degrees, because the 3 Degrees left for another label, and these women were considered as a replacement. They were totally different in sound-wise, so maybe that would have been the way 3 Degrees would have been developed if they would have stayed with Philadelphia International. We would never know, but the Jones Girls are just also brilliant. Also, he was involved in creating an album from another legend who is highly underrated, and she should absolutely get more attention. She took her own life in the early 90s, but she left behind a great legacy of music, and he was involved in Phyllis Hyman's Living All Alone. So you can see this is a tiny tiny little stack of music where Dexter Wansel was involved and what masterpieces he helped to create. So all I can say is, if you want to spend this week, the rest of this week, listening to great music, go and check out Dexter Wansel. Check out his solo works. Life on Mars was, when I was buying it, around $50 to $100. As you can see, it's beaten. The vinyl is okay. You have some clicks, some pops. It's vinyl, no issue. But I think the price is now getting a little lower. But if you want to have an OG, they're out there between 50 to 100. So that was my last time I checked. It could have been changed in the meantime, but did I show you the back? So you can see the other side of that tunnel. So if you have time, listen to Dexter Wansel. Stay safe, stay healthy, listen to good music, and I see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.